Bloody day for law enforcement. 2 officers killed, 1 recovering. Slain officer's wife addresses Congress for national law mandating death penalty for cop killers. U.S. Attorney General under pressure to resign over Fast and Furious program. Police cruiser of the future is here today. LAPD versus LASD boxing charity event. Maryland man caught shoplifting during Shop with a Cop charity event. Welcome to Police News TV. I'm your anchor, Paul Ballmer. This daily show is national news about law enforcement, by cops, for cops. Here at Police News TV, we've got you covered. Virginia Tech campus shooting. Officer killed, suspect kills himself. Blacksburg, Virginia. Today at 12:15 p.m., Virginia Tech police officer Derek W. Krause stopped a vehicle in the Coliseum parking lot near the McComas Hall. During the course of the traffic stop, the officer was ambushed by an unknown male who fatally shot Officer Krause while he was sitting in his cruiser. The male subject then fled on foot from the scene towards the campus parking area known as the Cage. Minutes later, Virginia Tech's alert system reported at 12:37 p.m. that shots had been fired in the Coliseum parking lot and urged people to stay inside and secure their doors. Numerous law enforcement agencies responded to the scene to assist in securing the area and locate the active shooter. Additionally, all Montgomery County schools were placed on lockdown since the suspect was still at large. At approximately 12:45 p.m., a Montgomery County Sheriff's deputy observed a male pedestrian in the Cage parking lot along Duck Pond Drive. When the deputy reached the male subject, he found the man on the ground, deceased from a self-inflicted gunshot wound with a handgun nearby. The 2 shooting scenes are less than half a mile apart. The next day, it is reported that forensic ballistic tests confirmed both Officer Krause and the unidentified suspect died resulting from gunshots from the same weapon. It is yet unknown as to the motive of the unidentified shooter for killing Officer Krause. The cruiser dashcam video was recovered from the officer's cruiser, which reportedly recorded the incident. Later in the afternoon, Blacksburg police recovered a discarded backpack at the greenhouses on Virginia Tech campus. The clothing found inside the backpack is similar to the clothing worn by the male subject in the officer's video. Virginia State Police was requested to take lead in the investigation. The previous shooting incident on the Virginia Tech campus was 5 years ago, where 32 people were slain. Officer Derek W. Krause was 39 years old and became an officer for Virginia Tech in 2007. He was a U.S. Army veteran. North Carolina deputy slain trying to arrest Iraq war vet who then shoots and kills himself. Vass, North Carolina. A Moore County Deputy Sheriff Richard Ryan went to the home of Martin Pointer, an Iraq war veteran, after deputies received a trespassing complaint. The deputy found the 33-year-old Pointer and his brother having time to check their names before he was killed. It was then discovered that the suspect had an outstanding arrest warrant for failure to pay child support. Martin Pointer then pulled out a gun and fatally shot Ryan outside an abandoned home near the town of Vass, which is about 60 miles southwest of Raleigh. Moore County Sheriff Carter said in the news conference that after shooting Deputy Ryan, the suspect then turned the same gun on himself and died on the scene. Martin Pointer didn't have a criminal record, but he was recently taken into custody for a mental health evaluation after being involved in a domestic dispute following his return from military service in Iraq a few years ago. The suspect's brother witnessed both shootings, Sheriff Carter said, but he was not involved in the killing and was not arrested. Moore County Deputy Sheriff Richard Ryan, who was 58 years old, started in law enforcement in Pinehurst, North Carolina in 1974 and has served as a police chief at Foxfire Village for 26 years beginning in 1981. He joined the Moore County Sheriff's Office in 2007, working at the courthouse and as a school resource officer, as well as helping with patrol. Ryan was the first Moore County deputy ever to be killed in the line of duty. Troopers shot and wounded. Suspect shot on I-95 highway shoulder. I-95, Caroline County, Virginia. A Virginia State trooper encountered a lone person on the shoulder of Interstate 95 at 3:25 p.m. today. This was during the time of the Virginia Tech incident, which was only about 200 miles away. Senior Trooper M.H. Hammer was dispatched to a complaint of a suspicious person walking on the interstate roadway. He responded to the call in his unmarked cruiser. Reportedly, the pedestrian and Trooper Hammer got into a struggle inside the cruiser and shots were fired, leaving both men wounded. Both Senior Trooper Hammer and the suspect were transported from the scene to a local hospital in Fredericksburg. After emergency surgery, Senior Trooper Hammer was listed in stable condition. The assailant died the next day. At this time, there are no further details on the incident, nor any information as to if the suspect had a weapon or if only the trooper's gun was involved in the shooting. The Virginia State Police Bureau of Criminal Investigation is investigating the incident. Actor Harry Morgan dies at age 96, well known from Dragnet and MASH. Today, longtime actor Harry Morgan died at age 96. He was well known as Officer Bill Gannon, the funny partner opposite Jack Webb in the TV crime show Dragnet from 1967 to 1970. Additionally, he played the very popular role of Colonel Sherman Potter in the TV show MASH from 1975 to 1983.
I picked us up a Christmas tree.
You sure did.
Well, we don't have any decorations here, but it sure brightens the place up. I hope it stays quiet. I got more shopping to do after we get off.
I finished mine.
Where'd you get your girlfriend?
Stationery set, some paper, envelopes, leather binding.
Joe, you'll never learn.
Oh, what's the matter?
No woman wants a stationery set. You get her something personal.
It's got her initials on it.
No. You want something more sentimental, romantic.
What'd you get Eileen?
Well, it's different in her case.
What'd you get your wife?
A sewing machine.
That's romantic.
Morgan also had a brief nostalgic role in the modern remake movie of Dragnet in 1987. He had a scene in which he portrayed the now LAPD Captain Bill Gannon opposite Dan Aykroyd, who played the new Detective Sergeant Joe Friday.
Captain, Frank's late. Must have been held up in traffic.
Frank won't be coming in today, Joe.
24-hour virus.
Or tomorrow.
48.
Actor Harry Morgan passed away at his Los Angeles home after suffering from pneumonia. Statement of killed Philly officer's wife, Maureen Faulkner, has to cop killer being taken off death row. At 4 a.m. on December 9, 1981, Philadelphia police officer Faulkner pulled a Volkswagen over for driving the wrong way down a one-way street with its lights off. The driver of the car, who was Mumia Abdul-Jamal's brother, exited the car and began attacking the officer by punching him in the face. Coincidentally, at the same time, Mumia Abdul-Jamal was in his taxi parked across the street. Several of the eyewitnesses saw Mumia Abdul-Jamal running across the street towards the scene with his arm raised. Then, from less than 2 feet away, witnesses saw Jamal shoot Officer Faulkner in the back. Faulkner was able to remove his revolver, turn around, fire one shot delivered right in the chest of Jamal. Faulkner then fell to the ground. Jamal stood over the unarmed officer and fired several additional shots at Faulkner's upper body. Jamal took the time to bend down, put the barrel of his gun inches away from Officer Faulkner's face, and fire the final and fatal shot, killing Officer Faulkner instantly. Jamal then staggered several steps and collapsed to the curb. Seconds later, fellow Philadelphia police officers arrived at the scene and arrested Mumia Abdul-Jamal. At the criminal trial, some of the following evidence was presented. 4 eyewitnesses to the crime who stated that Jamal was the killer. Considerable forensic and ballistic evidence that pointed to Jamal's guilt. 3 witnesses saw and heard Jamal when just outside the hospital emergency room triumphantly shouted that he had killed the officer. He was a member of the Black Panther Party until October 1970. Prior to the shooting, he left the group and also had no previous criminal arrest. Abdul-Jamal was convicted of killing Officer Faulkner and was sentenced to death. The jury delivered a unanimous guilty verdict after 3 hours of deliberation. The case since then has found its way through numerous appeals in the court system. Subsequently, the U.S. Supreme Court allowed his July 1982 conviction to stand and ordered the appeals court to reconsider its decision to rescind the death sentence. In April 2011, the Third Circuit Court of Appeals affirmed his conviction as well as its decision to vacate the death sentence. This week, the Philadelphia District Attorney R. Seth Williams announced that the prosecutors would no longer seek the death penalty for Abdul-Jamal. Williams said that Abdul-Jamal will spend the rest of his life in prison without the possibility of parole. Officer Faulkner's widow stated in part, This decision certainly does not mark the end of my journey, nor will I stop fighting to see justice done for my husband. Rest assured, I will now fight with every ounce of energy I have to see that Mumia Abu Jamal receives absolutely no special treatment when he's removed from death row. Please check out more on this case for yourself from the links on our website as part of this episode's show notes. FallenProject.com seeks to fund documentary on police deaths. Thomas Marchese, a sergeant for the Soledad Police Department in California, is attempting to raise funding for a documentary film that explores the rapidly rising rate of police in the line of duty deaths in the U.S. over the past few years. In just 2 years, officer fatalities in the U.S. have risen nearly 60%, and firearm-related officer killings have increased 40%. The film production team is comprised of only law enforcement personnel, and they'll travel across the U.S. interviewing family members of fallen officers and cops who were involved in the tragic incidents. As described on their website, there are many personal stories going untold beneath these percentages, and these fallen heroes deserve a voice, as do their families, loved ones, and partners who are struggling to pick up the pieces these tragedies have left behind. Additionally, along the way, we will share their intimate accounts of heroism and loss and explore the complexities and challenges of funding public safety in today's economy. The FallenProject.com producers hope to complete the film in the next year. The production only needs $150,000 to complete and is only being funded by much-needed donations. Please go to their website, FallenProject.com, and contribute whatever amount you can to this very worthy cause. Police find 2 bodies in burned-out Washington home. Washougal, Washington. Neighbors noticed that a house was on fire in their neighborhood. As the neighbors went out to assist, they were scared off by a man just outside the home, brandishing weapons and telling everyone to leave. As Clark County Sheriff's Office and the fire department crews arrived to the burning home, the yet unidentified man began shooting at the emergency responders, forcing all of them to take cover. Police evacuated nearby houses and 4 schools were temporarily locked down. The house burned to the ground in the 90-minute incident. Once the scene was able to be secured, police then found 2 dead bodies inside the burned-out home. It is reported that the house owner is believed to be a self-proclaimed white separatist who was arrested in Idaho in 1995 over allegations he threatened his ex-wife. In that previous incident, authorities confiscated more than 24 weapons, including 6 AK-47s and a grenade launcher. At this time, the identities of the dead bodies have not been released, and the matter is under investigation. Fortunately, no emergency workers or any members of the public were seriously injured. None of the responding officer needed to return fire, and only 1 round shot at them struck a cruiser. Attorney General Holder told Congress nobody at the DOJ lied about Fast and Furious program, but the pressure mounts for Holder to resign. Washington, D.C. The recent uproar over the ATF Fast and Furious program prompted Congress to investigate and request internal documentation on the matter from DOJ. In a response letter to the request, the DOJ stated, ATF had not sanctioned the sale of assault weapons to a straw purchaser and that the agency makes every effort to intercept weapons that have been purchased illegally. Both these assertions are clearly false. Attorney General Holder was then grilled by congressmen during his testimony on Capitol Hill this week.
That's a question of what, because there have been inconsistent submissions to Congress. You yourself testified that you'd only heard about it a few weeks earlier, and then in November you said it probably was a few months. As late as October 7th, in response to allegations that you lied on May 3rd, you wrote to Congress, your statements on Fast and Furious have been, quote, truthful and consistent. And then your underlings on February 4th, Assistant AG Ronald Weich responded to Senator Grassley denying that the ATF had walked guns, and that letter ended up being withdrawn. As Mr. Issa has said, lying to Congress is a federal felony. I don't want to say that you have committed a felony, Mr. Attorney General, but obviously there have been statements so misleading that a letter had to be withdrawn. I think that some heads should roll, and I do agree with Senator Grassley that Assistant Attorney General for the Criminal Division, Lanny Breuer, should be fired. And I know that that decision is not yours, but it is the President's. But I think that merely getting the head of the ATF director at the time is not sufficient, since it's obvious that there was knowledge within the Justice Department. What are you going to do to clean up this mess?
Well, first let me make something very clear, and in response to an assertion that you made or hinted at, nobody in the Justice Department has lied.
Why was the letter withdrawn?
The letter was withdrawn because there's information in there that was inaccurate. The Justice Department letter of February...
Okay, well, tell me what's the difference between lying and misleading Congress in this context?
Well, if you want to have this legal conversation, it all has to do with your state of mind and whether or not you had the requisite intent to come up with something that can be considered perjury or a lie. The information that was provided in that February 4th letter was gleaned by the people who drafted the letter after they interacted with people who they thought were in the best position to have the information.
Okay.
Several congressmen are calling for the resignation or firing of Holder over this incident. Seattle police discipline wrong cop in jaywalker punching. Seattle, Washington. The Seattle Police Department mistakenly disciplined the wrong officer in a case involving two cops who assaulted a jaywalker in Rainier Valley, a department official said. The mistake meant the officer, who was supposed to be disciplined after punching a handcuffed suspect, escaped a permanent punitive mark on his record. In a case that prompted outcry about police aggressiveness early this year. The incident occurred in January when officers saw a disheveled man walking into oncoming traffic. Concerned that he would be hit by a car or cause an accident, they flashed their lights and sirens and yelled at him to stop. When the man disobeyed, one officer tackled him. The jaywalker in handcuffs then spit at the other officer, prompting the officer to punch or slap him in the face. The officers also put a hood called a spit sock over the man's face. The incident was witnessed by a local news reporter who reported it to authorities. After several levels of review, the police department decided in July that the tackling technique the officer had used was appropriate force, given the prior attempts to stop the man. Officials found the other officer's punch unnecessary and not part of the department's use of force guidelines. But when it came time to discipline the puncher, a human resources employee mistakenly sent the discipline notice to the tackler. By the time this mistake was discovered, a few days later, the department had missed its 180-day union-negotiated deadline to finish investigations against accused officers. That meant the punching cop did not get a permanent disciplinary mark in his record. Instead, he received a supervisory intervention, a non-disciplinary action that required some extra training. That notation is not permanent and will be expunged from the officer's record in 3 years. Minneapolis PD to rehire laid-off 2009 Academy grads. Minneapolis, Minnesota. In 2009, the Minneapolis Police Department graduated 20 new police officers from its academy. Later that same week, the department was then forced to lay off the entire recently graduated class, along with 9 other active duty officers. This was due to budget cutbacks, and the newly graduated officers were laid off, and just a few days before Christmas. Well, this week, due to a federal grant and recent retirements, the chief of Minneapolis announced he can rehire back the graduated officers. All but 2 of these academy graduates will be able to return. One is currently serving in the military overseas, and the other already has a job with another agency. Goldwater Institute sues Phoenix over police union work. Phoenix, Arizona. The Phoenix Law Enforcement Association, PLEA, and the City of Phoenix currently have agreements where 6 officers, instead of working patrol, are assigned to full-time union representation duties. The 2-year agreement started last year. PLEA also agreed to have 2 of these union officers on call at all times in order to be available to any of its membership's needs if consultation or representative and disciplinary issues come up. This fall, the Institute reviewed the 2010 agreement between PLEA and Phoenix and declared the city is giving benefits to police officers working for the union at taxpayer expense. This reportedly violates the Arizona Constitution's restrictions on gifts and subsidies to organizations or private individuals. The Goldwater Institute then filed a lawsuit on behalf of these 2 Phoenix residents. Goldwater Institute representatives said they hope the lawsuit, if it succeeds, goes one step further and bars government employees from working for a union while earning a government paycheck. Information of 40 LAPD command staff members hacked by anonymous group after Occupy LA raid. Los Angeles, California. The infamous hacking group called Anonymous took credit today for releasing the information on 40 of LAPD's command staff officers' backgrounds, home addresses, campaign contributions, property records, and in some cases, even the names of family members, including children. The reported motivation by the hacker group was for LAPD's violent oppression in clearing the Occupy LA encampment. LAPD stated the majority of the officers listed were not even involved in the Occupy LA clearing operation, and some were even retired. Dallas police seek family of pioneering female cop. Dallas, Texas. The Dallas Police Department is seeking the assistance in locating the family members of a former member of their force they say was the first regularly commissioned female police officer in the United States. Her name was Eva Farley, and she received her captain's commission on February 22, 1896. She apparently married John Hubner in 1920 and may have moved to Los Angeles, dying in 1943. The Dallas Police Department has planned a dedication ceremony to honor former DPD officer Eva Farley and hopes to make contact with any of her relatives who might still live in North Texas. Connecticut janitor took a gun to school. Waterbury, Connecticut. Cody Willett, age 25, was working at a school on Sunday when he apparently left a firearm in the counter in a classroom. The gun was discovered Monday morning by a teacher. Willett does have a valid permit to carry the pistol. Willett was arrested a short time later and was charged with reckless endangerment and failing to properly store a firearm. The school system placed him on administrative leave after the arrest. DNA from cigarette butt led to an arrest in a 30-year-old Maine murder. Skowhegan, Maine. A discarded cigarette butt led to the arrest of Jay Mercier in a 31-year-old murder case. Maine State Police Detective Brian Jacquez stated he interviewed Mercier outside his home. Mercier was smoking his cigarette and discarded it in the roadway while the two discussed the murder investigation. After the meeting, Jacquez collected the cigarette butt and delivered it to the Maine State Police Crime Laboratory for processing. After forensic DNA analysis, Mercier's DNA from the cigarette matched the DNA obtained from the deceased's body. MSP Detective Bryant then obtained another confirming known sample from Mercier, which again matched the DNA evidence from the 31-year-old open homicide case. Man who allegedly stole police horse seeks resolution in mental health court. Lancaster City, Pennsylvania. Lakewood City Mounted Police Officer Wayne McVeigh tied his police horse, Charlie, to a post along the street in order to check a nearby business. When the officer returned back to his horse, it was gone. A little while later, another officer about a block away located Adam Schultz walking down the street with, you guessed it, the police horse in hand. Because the horse is valued at $10,000, McVeigh arrested Schultz on a felony charge of theft by unlawful taking. Schultz lives in a row house with practically no outside property, so it's unknown where he planned exactly to take the 2,000-pound animal. If only the police horse could talk. We here at Police News TV team would like to welcome a new member of our still new team. Many of you already know that I'm an active police officer here in the Tampa Bay community. Well, Jill Adrian is a former police officer from Connecticut, and she'll be a great addition to the show. Jill, welcome.
Thanks, Paul. I'm really looking forward to being a part of this team and giving fellow law enforcement officers a professional news program.
Outstanding. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Let's take a look at some new and innovative products for law enforcement. The iPhone is about to become the FBI's newest crime-fighting partner. The FBF Mobile One device slips over an off-the-shelf iPhone or iPod Touch, which can be easily slipped into a pocket. Constructed of durable ABS plastics and weighing in at just 0.4 pounds, allows the device to run for 9 hours or more on battery power in scanning mode. The device then can take high-quality fingerprints that even pass the rigorous requirements of the FBI. It already has been FBI certified. Because of the iPhone's Wi-Fi or cellular connectivity, fingerprints can be quickly obtained and compared to those in national databases. The FBF Mobile One device is expected to cost $600 and will be going through tests at the FBI Academy in 2012. You can't run from the cop car of the future. Motorola showed off this week their new police cruiser, which contains many integrated systems to assist the officer in many ways. Equipped with 8 cameras, voice commands, incredibly intelligent software, and LTE radios, perps won't get away with anything. The cruiser has an automated license plate recognition, which can see and store up to 10,000 license plates in a shift. It also reportedly works in bad weather. Even if there's a 130-mile-an-hour difference in speed between the cars, the plate recognition works and queries the local, state, and federal databases instantly. A new feature of this system is that the cruiser's location is constantly logged via GPS, along with where all the license plates the system's queried during the shift. So let's say the next day investigators want to know all the vehicles that were in a certain area of the crime. Where this cruiser had been, they could obtain that valuable information. Because of modern, faster 4G cellular networks, the cruiser's video cameras can transmit the video instantly and in real time, so it can be also viewed by other units or back at headquarters. Conversely, the officer in the cruiser can watch live video from the department's stationary pole cameras around the area. The driver's computer screen will also give mapping directions to active calls and also display other active incidents in that area. Almost everything is done with either a single button press or voice commands. They even thought to put the voice control button right on the steering wheel. All the guts of the integrated system are located in a small, convenient slide-out tray located in the cruiser's trunk. This takes up minimal trunk space, leaving plenty of room for other police equipment. Now in our law enforcement sports segment, LAPD vs. LASD charity boxing match, Montebello, California. In police sports news, the LAPD officers went toe-to-toe with LASD deputies in the 18th annual Battle of the Badges boxing event. This event occurred on December 3rd, and all the proceeds went to help City of Hope Cancer Charity. There will be a total of 10 bouts. In the main event, Jorge Kamal of LASD is against Ivan Guillermo of LAPD. Jorge and Ivan are police Olympic gold medalists and have a lot of boxing experience. In the co-main event, Chris Barrios of LASD is against John Negretti of LAPD. Chris is undefeated with wins over top boxers Juan Bustamante of LAPD and Oscar Rodriguez of LASD. John Negretti will be a tough opponent for Chris. John is a police Olympic gold medalist and has more experience than Chris, which may give John a slight advantage. This fight will definitely clarify who is number 1 at 190 pounds. Today in law enforcement history. In 1997, the FBI announced its new National DNA Index System called NDIS. In 1980, John Lennon is murdered in New York City by Mark David Chapman. And in 1961, 400 Los Angeles police officers made a surprise attack on the Black Panthers at 2 separate locations in Los Angeles. On the calendar for upcoming law enforcement events, the Florida Sheriff's Association will have its 2012 Midwinter Conference and Exhibition from January 15th to 18th, 2012 at Hyatt Regency in Jacksonville, Florida. Also, the yearly SHOT Trade Show will be in Las Vegas this year from January 17th to 20th, 2012. SHOT stands for the Shooting, Hunting, Outdoor Trade Show and is the largest and most comprehensive trade show for all professionals involved with the shooting sports, hunting, and law enforcement industries. It is being held at the Sands Expo and Convention Center. Check our website for our show notes and links for further information on these events. In our Dumb Criminals segment, Maryland man caught shoplifting during Shop with a Cop charity, Waldorf, Maryland. We're all aware of various police agencies participating in the Christmas time program of Shop with a Cop. If you're not familiar with the program, police officers take needy kids and their families out shopping for gifts that they could not afford. Normally, the needy families are escorted by marked police cruiser and uniformed officers to the toy shopping location, and the cops shop with the children inside the store. Agencies make a big production of it with lights and sirens in order to excite and make the needy children feel special. Well, during one of these Shop with a Cop events in a Maryland Walmart, Timothy Randall Clark, age 22, decided to shoplift $600 worth of video games, while approximately 50 uniformed officers were in the store. Needless to say, Clark was quickly arrested at the scene. I think Santa needs to either give him a stocking full of coal this year or pay for him to get a visit with his eye doctor. Dumb.
A man arrested for shooting mistletoe at a North DeKalb mall, Decatur, Georgia. Apparently, mistletoe grows abundantly in the trees of North Georgia. A common way for area residents to harvest the plant is to shoot it out of the tree with a shotgun. As one local put it, it's easier to shoot it out of the trees rather than climbing to get it. Well, with local tradition, Richard Robinson decided on Sunday to grab his shotgun and collect some mistletoe for his home Christmas decorating. Although I grew up in Savannah and I don't remember this tradition. Nonetheless, the only problem was that he did it in the parking lot of a North DeKalb mall. Police responded and arrested him for illegally discharging a weapon and reckless conduct. I mean, a DeKalb mall. We're talking Atlanta, folks. Oops.
We here at Police News TV would like to thank you for watching.
You can watch or listen to our daily news broadcast on your large HD TV, your laptop, your tablet computer, smartphone, or MP3 player. Your Police News TV. Anytime, anywhere, because here at Police News TV, we've got you covered.
Also, you can like us on Facebook, watch and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and follow us on Twitter. We have many other ways to watch and listen to this broadcast, so go to our website, PoliceNewsTV.com, to find out how. If you wish to submit a story or give us feedback, you can email us at contact@PoliceNewsTV.com or call us at 727-437-2207. We value your opinion.
And until next time, to all of our brothers and sisters in blue out there, stay safe and see you next time on Police News TV.
Tell you, worked this shift long enough to see some pretty animated things. Oh! Get a load of this guy. Light him up.
Have a merry freaking Christmas.
Evening. You been drinking tonight, sir?
No. Just a couple of nogs at the polls, all us for, officer.
All right, step out of the sleigh, please. What's in the trunk?
Nothing.
So if I open that trunk, I'm not gonna find anything I don't like, am I?
You know, this is my wife's sleigh.
All right, pop the trunk. Oh! Hello, what's this?
It's just
What's this?
snow from the North Pole. I'm holding it for the Easter Bunny.
Santa, you're under arrest.
Oh, come on.
You have the right to remain silent. You better not pout.
Oh, you
Better not... Oh,
There he goes, get him! Hold it down.
Yes, someone's been naughty, huh, Santa?
Yeah. You bastards! You rat bastard! You're not getting anything in your stocking! I know you! I know where you live! I will take you out! And I don't mean on a date, you bastard!
That's the hardest part of this job, busting you heroes.
I'm
Probably gonna get a big lump of coal in my stocking this year, but I'm just doing my job, you know.
Call my help.
All right, that's it. Let's roll. And hey! Let's be careful out there.